Hello, and welcome to our March editorial review. This week saw us reach a year since the beginning of the first official UK lockdown. On World Sleep Day, marked on Friday the 19th of March, research revealed that in the UK, roughly 75% of people have experienced a change to their sleep patterns since the beginning of the pandemic in March 2020. And research by IT company Insight, based on a recent Kantar survey of 1,250 working adults, calculated that 9 million sick days are taken because employees can't cope with the pressure of work, and disrupted sleep is one of the most common effects of stress. As we approach April, the roadmap laid out for easing lockdown measures brings hope of increased social interaction and entertainment options, activities typically associated with stress relief. But as April is also Stress Awareness Month, we are reminded that stress has many causes, and whilst lockdown has undoubtedly been a major contributing factor for many, its easing may not reduce stress for all, and for some employees, it could even present an increase. At this crucial transitionary period, we explore how people have been feeling in recent months and consider how to reduce stress levels and overcome the risk of burnout across a range of circumstances.
In January, new research from Alcohol Change UK, the charity behind Dry January, suggested that more people than ever were planning a sober January to reset their relationship with alcohol, after a year where many have found themselves drinking more heavily due to the stress of lockdown. Stress has been credited to numerous factors, and amongst them is the issue that many have been working extra hours since working from home. According to a survey carried out by Furniture at Work, 3 in 10 people said that they worked an extra 3 to 4 hours each week during working from home, and nearly half say that they do over 5 hours extra. We highlighted that as part of the Health and Safety Executive's lone working guidance, employers are duty bound to support home workers to ensure they don't suffer from burnout. A major area of focus for the HSE is that of employee mental health, particularly the impact of lone working on stress and well-being. Not only does working alone have a higher chance of invoking feelings of isolation due to the lack of social contact and the physical presence of colleagues, but it can also mean that employers are unable to detect the warning signs of an employee who might be experiencing, or at risk of experiencing, work-related stress, depression, or anxiety.
In a bid to combat this lack of connection between employee and employer, we've seen improved employee experience initiatives launched and supported by technological innovations such as Moodbeam. As co-founder Christina Coleman-McHugh explained, businesses are trying to get on top of staying connected with staff working from home. Here they can ask 500 members, "Are you okay?" without picking up the phone to individuals. Indeed, the pandemic has highlighted the need for organisations to cultivate good mental health in order to foster productivity, retain employees and attract talent. However, it has also presented the obstacle of personal and physical disconnect between people, in a way that can cultivate the growth of issues, including a lack of comfort to be forthcoming and transparent about emotional or problem-solving struggles. In the interest of enhancing the ease of feedback and using the data to better delegate responsibilities, a great example would be how Moodbeam have developed a full package solution for monitoring the well-being of employees and making assessments based on that. Although their physical device appears like a wristband, it can also be attached to clothing or a lanyard for easy access. The two-button construction simplifies reactions into a positive or negative experience. It's connected to a mobile phone app that then gives the users prompts for logging their feelings regularly throughout the day. As stated on their website, this isn't a once-a-year survey, it is everyday organisational self-awareness. It's easy to imagine more advanced technology that wouldn't require the voluntary part of this scheme to observe employee well-being, but that seems quite discomforting and therefore counterproductive. Although the dependent variable here is honest reporting, it is vital that we are aware when members of any unit are struggling. Something can then be done before reparations become more difficult. Tools like those that Moodbeam offer provide a surveillance option for managing diverse and expansive organisations, but on its own it lacks the human element that is very important when dealing with mental health. A team of any kind needs to be nurtured with genuine care expressed, so that team members feel they can be transparent with issues. Using smart technology as a support when investing quality time into team conversations could be very beneficial.
Line managers can play an important role in helping to implement these measures, and there are many tools and resources and guides available to help employers in deciding what these measures should be. The HSE's Talking Toolkit is designed to help line managers hold initial conversations with employees, as one part of an employer's journey to help preventing workplace stress. By taking action, employers can help create a more engaged, healthy workforce, boost productivity, and even save money. Employers have reported improvements in productivity, retention of staff, and a reduction in sickness absence when tackling work-related stress. This topic of improved employee well-being was addressed at This Week in FM's Workplace Excellence channel at Reconnect, with Dr. Joe offering practical strategies to sustain concentration, focus, and stamina in order to improve productivity and prevent burnout.
So now, how does this whole idea around eating, knowing that food gives us fuel, hydration, can make us feel better, limiting the coffee can increase our performance, help us, help the organization? I would venture to say that when I'm working with organizations, I see so many stories. Plants that are open 24 hours a day and they have no cafeteria. These people are working 12-hour shifts. Well, yeah, you can say, well, they should bring food. Yeah, I get it. But can we make life a little bit easier when people need to grab something really quickly? Why is there no cafeteria, no food truck maybe? Or even the night shift workers that I talk to in the hospitals. They'll say that, the cafeteria is closed and the only vending machines have junk in them. And we want them to perform well. I mean, you think about it, the World Health Organization has said that medical errors are, a leading cause of issues in the workplace. Wrong amputee, wrong leg gets amputated, the wrong medicine gets given because people are fatigued. Don't we want to fuel them with energy? So when I'm working with organizations, it's all about, making sure that they have the basics there. Where are the hydration drinks? Are they located in such a place that, oh yeah, when you take a break, you can get to it. But if you're working in a 110-degree, oven out there in the plant and you have to walk 5 minutes to get a drink, well, chances are you're not going to get away. How can we make those fluid replacements a little bit easier to get to? Even getting the workers involved. I mean, I've had people tell me, they're diabetic. They shouldn't be drinking Gatorade, but they still need to hydrate. And yet that's what they're offering, not fresh, clean, cold water. So, in fact, we talked about diabetes a little while ago. I mean, 9% globally of the adult population has diabetes. So it can greatly impact the choices that we make within our organizations. So the way we eat is one major thing to consider within our organizations, to consider within our own lives as well, in terms of how we can perform better, how we can be a safer environment as well. Sleep is also important, so that's kind of like the second one. And again, people are thinking, well, sleep is something you do off work. Yes, I get it. But, how can we construct our work environment such that people are getting enough sleeps? Without proper breaks throughout the day, absolutely, we can get burned out in a matter of hours. And that's one of the reasons why we have that incorporated into kind of a non-salaried person's schedule, that they have a lunch break and 2 breaks, 15-minute breaks, because the body really does need that recovery period. No different than sometimes, I know with my phone, it starts acting up. I need to shut it down and reboot it back up. Hence why I call this reboot. We need to recharge the human body. Actually, there are some organizations that do allow naps. They have nap rooms, they have nap areas, quiet spaces, but that's not everywhere. But the thing is, there were some studies done, it was in the 1950s, in which they found out that when they connected the pilots up to those brain electrodes, they found out that they were having micro sleep episodes. So we're talking about just for a moment in which they were getting, they were kind of falling asleep, and they weren't performing as if they were awake. They were performing as if they were asleep. And so they found out that just allowing them short breaks during those flights really help their performance, especially on takeoff and landing, because those are the most critical pieces of flight. Now, let me ask you, I mean, you might have the attitude of naps are for lazy people, or you might say, you know what? I want that pilot, when I get back to flying anyway, I want that pilot to have those critical naps, especially on a transatlantic flight where they're flying for 6, 8, 10, 12 or more hours at a time. And so that's one of the reasons why many of the major airlines do allow these naps. Does it mean that everybody takes it? I don't know. But what about in your workplace, especially those that are working the night shift? Are they getting an opportunity to take perhaps a power nap? I'm not talking about a 3-hour siesta. I'm talking about a quick break, especially during like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning when accidents are most likely to happen. In fact, if you look at some of the major accidents, 3 Mile Island accident, the Challenger 1986 that exploded. I mean, all these kind of accidents oftentimes have in common some factor of fatigue of the operator, of the people that are, on the ground level. So we know that fatigue can play a role, and taking adequate breaks are important. The third piece, besides the way we eat, the way we sleep, is also movement, because we know that movement is not just healthy for our heart. They say a 30-minute walk is similar to, a mild antidepressant. And some of you probably have discovered walks. I know a lot of people are doing commuting walks when they've been at home through COVID. And so we know that exercise is really important, not just the walking type or running aerobic, but also, weights and resistance increase our bone density, and also flexibility, especially with people that are involved in a physical type work environment.
On LinkedIn, we found people from all different professions coming together to share their widely applicable methods of addressing job-related burnout. Global Business Executive Director Ryan Patel started this discussion by asking for advice and support for those dealing with stress. Priority points from different perspectives were expressed. Some of the best highlighted were as follows. Maintaining a to-do list, including non-work items. After work, reprioritizing the to-do list and blocking the calendar for the next day. Easy wins, perhaps using the first hour of the working day for small tasks, giving early accomplishment reward. Setting a hard stop for work so that it doesn't spill into needed leisure time. A further comment added more suggestions. Proactive time away from devices, having awareness of your daily activities and making a conscious effort to get away from screens. Having a pandemic social bubble to recognise the importance of human interaction. And taking walks, getting out in nature. Another contributor said that from her current position of knowledge, if she could change her time as an employee, she would have gone to therapy, got a coach to hold her accountable and encourage her, and been able to recognise what was within her control and what was outside of her control.
Mastering the art of self-awareness and emotion regulation means that employees could recognise negative symptoms of stress before they begin to impact daily work tasks, and gives them the opportunity to take proactive prevention measures. At Reconnect, we also saw Charles and Gaines explore how using emotional intelligence to combat burnout leads to greater morale, productivity, innovation, and cohesion, and fewer workplace accidents and absenteeism.
And I'm excited about what we're going to talk about today, which of course is emotional intelligence, burnout, and self-care. And it's very important that we talk about these things because they really impact all of us. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to share my screen right now. So let's jump right in. This is what we're going to talk about: self-awareness, emotion regulation, burnout, and self-care. Self-awareness and emotion regulation are the first two domains of emotional intelligence. And this is according to the program by Dr. Daniel Goleman, Emotional Intelligence. His book came out actually in 1995. We're going to cover that, and then we're going to get into burnout and self-care. So the first thing is self-awareness. Self-awareness is so critical to everything that you do in life. I call self-awareness a superpower because self-awareness allows you to really understand who you are, what you're doing, and how to modify your life. Essentially, it's understanding where you are, which enables you to direct where you're going. Bottom line is self-awareness is knowing what you feel, why you feel that way, and how you express or experience those emotions. So, what I want you to do is take a couple seconds to think about one word to describe how you feel right now. As you spend a moment to think about this word, I want you to think about the idea that regardless of what your answer is, this is not the time to judge yourself. A big part of emotional self care, a big part of preventing burnout is not judging yourself, recognizing that you're human, you make mistakes, and really everything that you do is okay, it's acceptable. And so when I'm talking about how you feel right now, maybe you've come up with different words like overwhelmed or frustrated, maybe you feel tired, maybe you're stressed out. It's okay to feel those things because those are normal emotions that we all experience. What is not okay is to continue to sit there and suffer through that and then to judge yourself in your suffering. What I want you to really take away from this today is that you don't need to judge yourself, that you need to accept yourself for who you are, accept your flaws and all, and then use that knowledge of self to really build yourself up so that you can step into your power and really elevate your life. Your subjective well being is really how you measure your quality of life. So we can measure that on a basically a scale. I call it your happiness baseline. So on your happiness baseline, 0 is as sad as you can be, and 10 is happy as you can possibly be. And so when you woke up this morning and everything was exactly as you expected it to be, where would you rate your happiness? Were you a 4? Are you a 6 or a 7? Obviously, this number fluctuates from day to day. However, you do have a kind of a set point where when things return to normal, you go back to being a 5 or a 6 or a 7. So when I talk about only 10% of external forces impact your subjective well-being, that means that 90% of how you rate your overall quality of life, where you are on the happiness baseline, is impacted by how you perceive your world, as well as some genetic factors. The genetic factors are things such as the way that your brain works. You're not in control of the volume of certain neurotransmitters or neurochemicals that your brain produces. You're not in charge of the speed at which adrenaline is released. However, you are in control of your perception. So, what I want you to understand is that there are several different factors that impact how you perceive your life and your overall quality of life. And these are things such as your biases, triggers, motivations, strengths, and weaknesses. So, I have a couple different biases on the page. They're negativity bias, impact bias, confirmation bias. And gaining the self awareness enables you, again, to position yourself to learn and to grow and to modify your trajectory, both professionally and personally.
In preparation for Stress Awareness Month, we've seen organisations across the industry, such as MNA Group, reminding people to check in on their workforce. Back on Twitter, the Samaritans charity announced that their volunteers have spent almost 1 million hours listening to people who needed to talk since the first lockdown in March 2020.
The Samaritans have indeed had a huge impact on supporting individuals experiencing mental health conditions. Opening up an initial conversation about mental health is proven to be a crucial step on the road to recovery. Stephen Peel, Managing Director of PPS Power, has championed the mental health first aider qualification as a method of helping employees overcome stress and focus on improved mental well-being.
All businesses have people within them, and the greatest asset for any business is people. And the stats are these: 1 in 4 will experience mental health issues in any given year. Recently, anxiety, depression, and stress accounted for 35% of all work related ill health. And 43% of all working days lost to ill health. I could go on. There are many stats to prove this point, but it's clear that if a business can enable itself to support individuals who struggle with mental health issues, they will inevitably improve staff well-being and help to prevent the preventable sick days. Starting a conversation about mental health, that's the big hurdle, the start of the conversation, the talking. And an environment that doesn't naturally talk openly about mental health issues, posters up, conversations, the leaders of that business consciously talking about mental health issues. You need to normalize the illness. It's exactly the same as any other illness that you would freely discuss around the office. And if you can normalize it and make it a common place to talk about it, then the one-to-one conversations are much easier for people to have and to know where to go to have them. I'm very conscious that I wear two hats in this organisation as the business leader and the mental health first aider. So far, I think it's going well. It's very early days, but so far it's okay. And plenty of people have come to talk to me, which is great. The more people you have trained in as a mental health first aider, the better. We'll be rolling out training because not everybody will be comfortable to come to me. That's a fact. Not everyone will. Thankfully, like I say, I have had many people come and start to talk to me, and that's the key. They've started the conversation. They've opened the door to the possibility that there is a safe place for them to talk about how they are feeling. Some of the conversations have just simply been about the pressure they've been feeling and the stress they're under. And again, great, healthy conversations. It doesn't have to be a conversation about something that could be categorized as a mental health issue. In fact, the earlier you start talking and having conversations about how you're feeling and what pressures you're under, the less likely it's going to become anything bigger. Talking is the key factor, and it will only happen in an environment that is safe to do so.
Thank you for joining us today. We would love to hear your thoughts on managing stress in the workplace. Please feel free to pop your experiences and advice in the comments.